Ready? Go. Good afternoon, and we are back again for hard conversations, and we subtopicked a couple of weeks. Why America? And I don't remember what last week's was. We had a topic. We're not perfect, and I forgot that. So, yeah, that's a great segue, right? We're not perfect. And today we just have a mixture of questions that we didn't complete from our previous 2 weeks, but we do have new guests here. We want to thank all of you for joining us. Again, share the link on Facebook, comment, ask questions, the questions that you may want to hear us talk about. Um, join the panel. Join this distinguished panel. That's
Thank
the
you.
one thing you don't have to be distinguished to join this panel, right?
That's right.
You'd have to leave. Okay. Yes, but join us. You want to talk about it? We just want to get a message out there. Talk about the hard things, but the end result is that we build lasting relationships. We have these hard conversations now to build a great foundation to build relationships on. And the other hope is that we're able to convey why America really is such a great nation. It's a great country.
Right.
Everybody wants to come here because it's a great country.
That's right.
Everyone wants to come to the United States because it's not like where they live. And we want to convey that also. We want you to know you may have questions like, I hear all this stuff, I hear all this media talk trashing the country, but is this a good place to live? And we all believe it is. And if you believe it is, you want to be part of the discussion, then just comment on Facebook, on the page, on the live stream, or if it's recorded, we'll go back and check and look at those comments. Again, if you have questions, um, we'll be glad to try to address them. We're not experts on one hand, but on another hand, we are because we are passionate about who we are and what we stand for. That makes us
Yeah,
experts, right?
I like that. Very well said.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so today we have some new guests, and I'm so thankful and excited that you guys are here. We've got Dr. Bill Dotson. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And of course, we've got Pastor Roy Smith. I'm Carla Smith. We've got Lucy Cisniega Hoyos. And then we've got our former mayor, the Honorable Jerry Morales. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
invitation.
You all, thank y'all for taking out the time to do it. Again, this is our third episode. We've discussed a lot of different things. And so before we jump into, I'm going to just give a brief overview of some of the things we've discussed. And for our new panelists, we certainly want to hear from you. We want to hear about you, want to hear why you think this is a great country, want to hear about hardships you may have overcome,
Hmm.
that all things are not perfect and all things are not fair, but you have to overcome some things. And it doesn't matter if you're white or if you're Mexican, Hispanic, Latino, or if you are black. We have to overcome struggles. So some of the things that we've talked about, we've discussed the pandemic of cultural and ethnic clashing. That's a hot topic in our country. So we've talked about that and what it means to us. We've asked the questions: does racism still exist? And we've asked, what is racism? And then we've asked of all the guests, regardless of race, have you experienced racism? And so they've been some. It's been some really good conversations. So I'm going to, I guess, go to Jerry
Hmm.
first. Jerry, I'd like you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little about You Are a Lot, whatever you want to talk about, and then you were mayor,
Hmm.
a successful business owner, um, but yet
Yeah.
you're
Great.
Mexican.
Well, again, yeah. Thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this. This is great, and you're exactly right. Today we are having the hardest conversations ever, in my opinion, with everything that's happened just in this first 6 months of 2020. But with that being said, my name is Jerry Morales. I was born and raised here in Midland, Texas, and I'm a cradle Catholic. I grew up at St. Anne's Church, baptized there. Went to St. Anne's School, and then I got to attend some of the elementary schools, public ones. Went to Goddard, went to Lee Freshman, Midland Freshman, because our family moved so much, and then ended up at Lee High School. and we may discuss this here in a little bit. But I got to attend all 3 years at Lee High, well, 2.5 years at Lee High School, and actually got to play with the legendary Spike Dykes on the 1983 state runner-up team. So there's a lot going on with the Lee family, Midland Lee family discussion. And back in 1977, mom and dad, Felipe and Celia Morales, opened up Casita Gerardo restaurant. And so my siblings and I grew up in the restaurant industry. But my parents were true entrepreneurs, hard entrepreneurs. They created businesses and were very successful in those businesses. And it was a foundation that my brother and sister and I learned. They served in the nonprofit world. They took care of home. They took care of their kids, and they gave back to their community in so many different ways. And so they knew the blessings that they had received. With that being said, I attended Texas Tech and was studying restaurant and hotel management. I wanted to keep that in the blood, I guess. I don't know how. I thought after burning my arms with so many sopapillas that I would never want to do it again. And getting stuck in the dish machine department, I was like, why would I ever want? But here I go. And 30 years later, 35 years later, I'm still running restaurants. So for 10 years, I got to work for a company called Don Paul's Harrigan's. Did 10 years of corporate world, came back home, cashed in my stock, bought mom and dad's restaurant. And today my family owns Gerardo's Casita, two Mulberry Cafes. So it's great to be an entrepreneur. I get to live the American dream, as many of us here. My beautiful family consists of two boys and a daughter. They're all in the restaurant business or attending school. And mom and dad are still alive. They get to witness all of our blessings that we're doing. And so I've got a great foundation, a great family that's surrounded by us.
And you had a grant to do all that, correct?
Uh,
Yeah.
a
The
grant?
American, the federal government
Oh
gave
yeah,
you
yeah.
a grant to do
Yeah, I
all
was
that.
like, which grant? Because I don't.
Yeah, I
where's
heard.
that?
Okay,
It's called the
just
grant.
Pockets aren't filled with
just
it.
want to make sure
It's
because
called
I
the
know your
grant of grit.
parents and
Yeah.
I know they were hardworking people.
They were very hard. Yes.
That's the grant of grit.
Yeah.
Yes,
There you
yes.
go.
Grant of spine.
Yeah.
The grant
I
of
remember
hard
when I was
work.
running for mayor, and I could truly say I know what it means to earn a dollar, because I don't get very much of that dollar after the end of the day. So, so that's a little bit of my story.
Okay, and we're gonna come back to you because we want to hear about maybe some of the challenges that you had to face
Sure.
and you had to overcome,
Yes.
but they still didn't stop you.
You got it.
All right, Dr. Dodson, here you are. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I would like to say thank you for allowing me to be here today. Yeah, right there. Can you hear me now? Oh, right here. Oh, yeah. I'll get my Barry White on. Okay, there we go. So, I was talking to Lucy the other day. She goes, "Hey, why don't you just come to this panel and do this?" And I was like, "Well, I'm kind of shy and stuff. I have my own. I have a radio show that I have on Saturdays, so I spend a little bit of time behind the mic every week. But I'm a physical therapist. I was born in Houston, Texas, a small town south of north of League City and south of Woodlands. I don't know if y'all heard of it. And then I moved to LA when I was 7 years old, with my mother and stepfather. My mother, I'm going to paint a darker picture because it's important, was a drug addict and an alcoholic. My real father was an alcoholic, or still is, but he's can't drink anymore because his pancreas is not allowing him to do it. My mother died of an overdose 3 years ago, but I lived in Los Angeles. The first place I lived in was Hollywood. As a 7-year-old kid, you walk down Hollywood Boulevard and you see things that I thought I was in a freak show, to tell you the truth. It really was strange for me and my two older brothers and I to walk down the street and see that. And then we moved to an area called Culver City, which at that time was about 80% Black and 10% Hispanic and 10% white. In fact, I was down the street from Earth, Wind, and Fire on Clarington Avenue, and I got to meet them as they were loading up their gear. And then we moved to a different area, a place called Slauson, which was one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles. I would walk down the alleys and see people overdosed on heroin and seeing women. I'm walking to school with my brothers and see women doing things that you shouldn't see. as a kid. Men doing things that you shouldn't see as a kid. And in fact, I remember the ice cream truck would always come down the street at about 40 miles an hour, never stopping. It was crazy. I was like, I'd like some ice cream. I'll catch up. I'll catch up. And then I moved to a place called Norwalk. In Norwalk, I lived in the barrio. I was the only Anglo in the barrio. There was a out of a 6 block radius. I was the only one, and within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I had my nickname, which was White Shadow, because I ran everywhere. I was terrified. I'm not going to lie. It was some bad news. Every night you'd go to sleep in the lulling of the helicopters, and it was a bad neighborhood. It was a real bad neighborhood. And a lot of people look at me and they go, "Oh, no, he's silver spoon." They look at they look at me because maybe I did okay. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm fortunate. Maybe I'm blessed. I think I'm blessed.
Maybe you're white. That's why.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and I came from the same places everybody else came from, and my parents, they weren't good people. They weren't good parents. I'm not going to lie. I love them with all my heart, but so I come from a little. I moved to Midland, Texas, because my grandparents were born here. I came here 30 years ago. I was only going to stay for 1 year. Yeah. I came here with $20. I worked at Midland Memorial Hospital for the first year, and then I started working at an outpatient clinic, and I ended up owning it. But I lived in a garage apartment over there off of Cuthbert, and I've loved what I do. I love what I do as a physical therapist. There's never a day that I wake up and I go, "Oh my gosh, I gotta go to work," or I go to bed at night going, I hate my job. I love my job. Everybody knows that I love my job. There's not anybody. So I am so blessed to go. Going through tough times is that's not what we want people to go through. I think we need to go through tough times. I think we do. And I know Jerry's gone through, and I know you have, and that, Lucy, I don't know anything about you, but but I think tough times make us who we are. I think they strengthen our faith. I think they allow us to venture out of out of our own shells, jump out of the pan right into the fire. Fire is not a bad place. It's what makes us more pure.
Yep, it's true. Thank you.
Thank both of you gentlemen very much for that, because and I love your story, not because it was hard times, but is it kind of low? But sometime in our culture, we tend to equate. We think that being white, I almost be willing to say Jerry was probably more privileged than you were. Not that you're privileged, but maybe had
Yep.
you had a loving home and you had parents and
That's
they
right.
showed you how to live and be a good upstanding
That's right.
citizen as a Mexican.
Mhm.
You didn't have that. And we tend to flip that based solely on color. And we make these presumptions. Jerry, you gonna say something?
No, you nailed it. I think on the head. Where, I mean, I was very blessed to always have a silver spoon. Just about. I mean, if I didn't have mom and dad there, I had a sleuth of uncles and aunts that were just surrounding me constantly, and it was just amazing. But from a monastery standpoint, we never had to worry because mom and dad paid the price so that my brother and sister and I could have a great foundation.
Mhm.
So you're exactly right.
That's awesome.
Huge.
But with all of that, with the benefits that you had growing up and the family structure that you had supporting you, did you still deal with hardships based on the color of your skin?
Yes, most definitely. And it wasn't, it wasn't as I see some of these stories and see what's going on today's world and the last 10 years, I truly was not faced with a lot of racism personally. Um, I would find myself in my teenage years fighting my own race, just because the way I was brought up, and because I lived in a more affluent neighborhood and not on the east side. They targeted me, my own race, and so there was battles there, and so I thought that was very interesting. But every now and then, but in a kidding way, my Anglo friends, would say taco or Mexican, and it was always in fun, but never in a way that we would take it today. Today they say something like that, and it is very serious racism.
Yeah.
So and I heard these stories a lot in my older years, as I was especially like on city council for the last 12 years. You probably dealt with it, Jerry, councilman. Did you deal with that? And I'm like, I really can't say that I did. So I don't even want to act like I know what you're talking about, because some of what I read and see in the news today, it's horrible. It's just literally makes you cry. It just makes you cry and breaks your heart.
Yeah, I think we've become more sensitive. Oh, especially since social media has come about, we have become more sensitive than we've ever been before. Um, I think we have more of a racial problem right now than I experienced when I was in Los Angeles.
It's crazy.
And it's not so we have a genotype and we have a phenotype. A genotype is what's in our genome. Our phenotype is the presentation of that gene. For instance, long, luxurious hair,
Or
Good
not.
example.
blue eyes, brown eyes. That's a phenotype. And I think that we're not looking at people's phenotype anymore. We're looking at their attitudes and the corruption of culture. I think that's really where the racism is coming right now, and where social media is coming in and just feeding the fire. It feeds it. It absolutely feeds it. I don't look at skin color. I look at the fact that maybe somebody has a little bit more melanin than I do. I look at Jerry's wonderful hair. That's a good looking hair. Yeah, he always has had good
And I
hair.
tell my buddies, don't touch it.
But
Good
I
Jesus.
really think it has morphed into how can I use my race, or how can I use myself? It's called intersectionalism. Intersectionalism is a social justice term saying, are y'all familiar with intersectionalism? Okay, so basically, you get points for certain phenotypes that you have. If you're a white Christian heterosexual male, you get 4 points. If you are a female Hispanic homosexual atheist, you get 4 points in the other direction. When you combine those points, you are able to call yourself a victim. That's what intersectionalism is. It's horrible how we can say, because of my skin color, because I love the Lord, because I am following his direction and saying, hey, I'm heterosexual, we get penalized in this world now. And you can't, in our sense of humor, I've got a pretty good sense of humor, people. It's pretty warped too. But at the same time, we have got to stop being hypersensitive. The crepe paper thin skin that our society has right now, I think that's what's causing a lot of the racism. I think people are using another word, I call it neo-victimization, trying to make themselves into a victim, and we have got to stop making ourselves into a victim. I don't think we need to be doing that. I don't think God appreciates it.
That's right. That's a great segue into. I'm going to skip down to the bottom. One of the comments that came up in the last session was, could you guys talk about tolerance, or the lack of tolerance
Mhm.
in our culture? and you brought up some points about it appears that those that preach tolerance are the most intolerant of all. So,
Mhm.
Pastor Smith, I'm going to ask you to talk on that.
I think when we talk about tolerance, we bias it in our usually in our opening dialogue about anything, whoever the person is that's talking about what ought to be tolerated. We approach that subject of tolerance. Say it's being a heterosexual. Uh, I'm biased toward that being, that existence. So naturally, I would make my strong argument against that point with the reason of why. So when you talk of a person and saying that we are tolerant or intolerant, I'll say it in another way. All ideas don't deserve a place at the table. Everybody can think and have thoughts, but not every thought needs to be talked about because some thoughts don't even rise to the level of an error. So when we talk about tolerance, what what exactly is it that you want me to tolerate? And then let's begin there because I need to get you to open up inside your assumption. Because if you're assuming that I'm intolerant, then show me where I'm intolerant. Show me why I'm intolerant. So tolerance has to do with you displaying and showing to me what do you mean? Tolerant of what?
And the definition of the word, and I'm going to ask you guys to kind of, Lucy, maybe you can speak on that. When people say you need to be tolerant or you're intolerant, what are they really saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's really being said? Um, you spoke one time about a particular behavior, that it's not that you want me to accept it. I mean, I really, if that's what you want to do, then do. If
Mm-hmm.
that's what you want to be, then be. But don't ask me to celebrate it with you.
And then that's what you're asking me for that kind of tolerance.
Yes, exactly. And that's
That's
what
what
I
you're
mean by
asking.
the definition of what tolerance is in those issues. And then if we'll just go up um, one of the questions from last time that we didn't get to was what is truth and what is wrong, what is good, what is evil, how are they related or not related, or is it relative to this whole tolerance and all these discussions, these cultural issues that we're having. Where does truth fall in to all this? Because two things cannot be true.
Right.
Two things cannot be true about the same issue. That flower cannot be red and green. It's red or it's green. And so you can't present truth as, well, it's the way I see it.
Go ahead, Lucy.
Yeah. So for me, I think like tolerance is like it's kind of like goes with respect. Like I'm gonna respect the way that that person is thinking, but I might not gonna have coffee with that person, or I might not gonna do business with that person, or like you said, I'm not gonna follow what that person is trying for me, like kind of like convince me to tolerate and make me think that it's okay. I know what I stand for, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people felt because they feel scared, like whenever something is not right, what is happening right now with everything with the police officers and everything, and a lot of people they're scared to stand up and kind of like uh, be for them because they just scared. They just want to tolerate everything, even if they don't think that that's right. But just because they're scared. So I think is like, one thing is like to tolerate, but another thing is like to continue kind of like with that situation or that person. So um, that's the way that.
The thing we're seeing right now in Oregon and Minnesota, that is straight evil. Okay, there's nothing good about that, and it's being whether you want to wear the foil hat, It's being purchased by bad people for them to do those things they do, for them to ship them to certain places. If people think that this stuff is happening randomly by people who really love America, they're going the wrong way. This is something evil that is happening in America right now that's being funded by people who are probably not even American, and people who are wanting to see us fail as a nation. We have been so successful for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are made up of many other countries. Number two, we were this is we were founded on Judeo-Christian values, and so those values are in the Bible. But there are people who are trying to say, well, I don't believe in the Bible, therefore your values can't be my values, or you shouldn't. I don't have tolerance to you. And what's interesting is I don't want to tolerate good. That's the problem. And yet we are told that we have to tolerate bad. We have to tolerate this stuff in across the United States. We have to tolerate taking money from people who are hard workers. We have to tolerate killing cops. We have to tolerate burning buildings. We have to tolerate, things that we don't agree with. And it's in our seed we don't agree with, but we have to tolerate it. But whenever I say, hey, I'm a Christian, they go, "Ugh, whatever, it's different. But this stuff is straight up evil. There's no good in this stuff at all. And it's being propagated by money.
Yeah, and I think if you use tolerance though in a broader sense, everyday life. I in the restaurants that I have a lot of young millennials, and so I have to bring myself to a level to where we can communicate, and I have to be tolerant. Trust me, to be able to show that we can understand my message of how I want my restaurants to run and the professionalism. Yet it's harder for this generation to understand etiquette and to understand what good service means. And so that's one example. Social media is another one. What I believe should be posted on social media is thrown out the door with them. They throw whatever you want on social media and let everybody read it, and which is maybe freedom of speech, but yet it divides us and it brings anger. It brings smiles, whatever. But again, it's this tolerance of where do we meet in the middle to be better understanding of each other. So why can't we have a great debate without having and unify and have a good discussion without arguing and fighting and taking it to another level? And that's what I'm seeing today, and I've seen it for a while now. And we talked about an earlier discussion about racism. What about ADA people, individuals who have disabilities, or when gays and lesbians really started to surface years ago, and it became very ugly in our society. That was not something that was fun to watch and observe, and it began to divide our community back then. And where was the tolerance then to understand and know that things are changing? Our world is changing and will continue to change. And I can just tell you that again, as mayor, when you're the leader of this community, you cannot pick sides. Your job is to lead the community and bring everybody together and understand everybody's issues and well-being, and try to keep this community together as one and moving forward. And I'm assuming that's what happens in the church, and that's what I do in my restaurant, and we do in our households.
And to further what these gentlemen are saying, and Lucy as well, when you put it into a broad perspective, like Jerry has talked about, we all learn to respect people, and we learn to, even if we disagree with what and who they are. In American culture, we are taught the rule of law. You still respect people where they are. You don't have to agree with them, but you must learn to respect them. But when you step into the struggle in a world, in our America or in our city and state, everything at some point will boil down to good and evil. Everything. And we that's where we start breaking ties with God, because we argue and box with God. Even as Christians, we know what the Bible teaches, but if the culture says that God is wrong, then he must be wrong. But Is he? Or will we just not stand up for what's truth? And if the Bible and the culture teaches and has always taught that marriage is between one man and one woman, you're going to have an argument about good and evil. It's showing itself in the relationship of marriage. But what the real battle is about good and evil. If I'm stronger than you, can I take your property? No, no. But the culture is leaning that way.
Yeah.
Because in Seattle, they've just taken over a whole block or two. They've just taken over a whole block or two, and our government won't go in and stop it because it's offensive.
We're losing control.
We lost control. We've lost it in that arena right there.
This culture is, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to hurt you.
That's right.
This is the culture we are in right now. If you don't, if you, especially if you are quote unquote liberal, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to hurt your family. And we see it over and over again. I can't think of the last time that a conservative group of Christians went to a restaurant or went to Austin and completely destroyed somebody's dinner. But we see this other side where if you don't agree with them, then they will hurt you or make you feel uncomfortable until you change their ways. By the way, this is how Hitler got started. This is how Stalin got started. This is how Lenin got started. These are how these guys got started. And if you don't believe me, look at your history. And they don't teach history in school anymore. They don't teach history in college anymore. They don't teach, especially American history. You see American history was a bunch of old white men with gray hair, a bunch of slave owners, and they didn't do anything. It wasn't the fact that God had brought these people together to create the most unbelievable nation ever in the history of the world. That, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about they're a bunch of old white guys with, slaves, and that's not the history. The history is the miracle of the United States.
Oh, great conversations. I mean, and we're not here to solve the world's problems or we can't. But it's good conversation. I'm going to throw this question at you first, Jerry, because one of the questions we didn't get to the last time, I don't think, was why vote. I think we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't get to it because we're at a critical time in our nation, and we all have ideas about what should happen and why we should or should not vote. So, as a former politician,
Sure. Yes, and really, there's so many answers to that question. One is, let's first think about our veterans and our military today who fight for our rights to vote. They have put their lives out there so that we can have that freedom, that democracy to vote. And that's
and not to mention the African Americans that lost their lives
That's right.
trying to go and vote. Even more so for me, I feel like we need to exercise that. We lost ancestors
that's right.
so that we could vote.
That's right. And that's so, I think it's imperative that our generation tells our younger generation one reason that we vote is because of who puts their lives out there every day to ensure that we get that right to vote. And then, secondly, we can talk about, when you do vote, why you're voting for it. Don't vote just because you see an individual or you know them through a family member or you like the way they look or she looks. I mean, you truly understand the candidate's background. You understand where they're from, why they've been running, how long have they been in politics, why did they decide to run, and what's their agenda? What do they truly stand for? And does it fall in your philosophy and your beliefs? Do you believe that it's going to make a better community, better state, a better nation? And so it's very imperative that you truly understand why that candidate is on the platform and trying to get your vote. the difference that they'll make, once they are in office, or if they've been in office already, understanding what the work they've done, what have they completed, how did they vote, did they represent your party, did they represent your community? Midland's a nonpartisan when you're a mayor. So did that mayor or did that city council member truly work hard? Did that school board member listen to you? Did he have town hall meetings, public meetings? Did he attend public meetings? There's just a realm of different areas that you have to really evaluate that person. And then the last thing I'll say is we've seen so many local elected races win by one vote, one vote. And I know that I have posted regularly that let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. If you believe in something, speak up, speak out there, and go campaign for that individual because you believe that they're going to make he or she's going to make a difference in your community or whatever position they're running for. It's when people decide to run, they're putting a lot of time and effort and money into doing that position. And if they don't get elected, they usually utilize a lot, about 6 months to 3 months of their time. And if they lose, it doesn't go down the drain. You walk away with this feeling that I accomplished something, that I did something really good, that I really got educated, that I learned more about my community that I didn't even know. And so, if you win, you better get ready to go to work because you're going to work. I promise you that. And that's any position that you run on, whether you're on planning and zoning, if you are an elected official, you're a commissioner, or whatever position, you're going to earn that position. Mayor, you got paid $75 a month.
I was gonna say those positions all pay really, really
Yeah.
good. I mean,
$75.
great pay.
So the only thing I was looking forward to was the next chicken dinner.
Yeah,
Not,
for real.
not.
That's
But
funny.
no, I mean, for me to walk away 6 years later after mayor and 12 years on city council, God, the love for my community is even more tenfold because you truly understand where the citizens are and what they believe and what they stand for and the good of bringing everybody together to make a difference in that community. So there's so many different ways that you can understand why you should vote, but stick to the basics.
Well, and for the 100th time, thank you so much for all the years that you spent running your businesses, pouring back into this community, creating
Oh, yeah.
jobs and providing jobs for our constituents or your constituents, and then raising your family and running the city. I don't know how you did all that, but yeah, thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Lucy, why would you
I know,
vote?
right? I should not worry about that. But, um, well, I just think, my father always kind of like put that in their heads, like, don't complain about something if you don't get involved with your own vote. And that always stick in my mind. It's very easy to come back and complain, like, this person didn't do the job. They don't know what they're talking about. I don't know why they're in this board or anything like that. But did you do something about it? Why you wait until things happen? And I'm going back to what happened in Venezuela, like President Trump said when he came, that was the richest country of the world. And what happened? People were sitting comfortable, like they didn't want to go about it and make a line to vote because I'm not going to worry about that. There's somebody else that is worried for me. And what happened now? They don't even have water, and it's sad. And every time that you talk about that, it's just sad to see how that country went. There's this amazing guy that he came to Midland, and he's from Venezuela, Daniel Di Martino, and he said he always said this, like, we were rich and we didn't know it. And he can see that those things can happen in other countries is we don't really go out there and do something about it. And really, like, if we think like years back, I've been in United States since I was 19 years old, and I remember, like, before, like, I didn't see what I see right now. Maybe there was a few cases when businesses got destroyed and nothing happened to those people, and they go and destroy more businesses. They still, back then when I moved here, you go and broke into a business, you go jail. And right now we're losing control of that. So, you know, maybe a lot of people think that what happened in Venezuela or what is happening in other countries cannot happen in the United States, but I don't know. I don't know if we can just see it and feel comfortable that that never happened. So I always say, like, you need to, well, there's a lot of people that they don't know where to go, how to do it, who to vote for. And like Jerry said, you need to really know who's running there. One of the things that I always say to people that run for any office position, if you think that you're gonna run in the next 2 years, try to do something before that. Try to go to the city meetings. Try to get involved. Don't just from one day to another go and fill out the form and decide to run, because it's like, for me, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna decide to start running, and I'm gonna sign up for a full marathon, and I never ran a 3K or 5K before. So how am I gonna do that? I don't have any experience. So it's that I always say that, try to get educated and try to do that. So I think it's a responsibility. I think we should all do it. We need to do it. We just not can just sit down and just wait for things to get better. So
I had two great conversations yesterday, totally unrelated, two different people that have never voted before. And of course, we really encourage everybody to register. I know you've been pushing that on Facebook. I'm deputized, so I can register people also. And so I checked, and I said, "You are registered to vote." They were like, "Really?" Yes, and they've never voted before, because we've had voters registration drives here, and I'm pretty sure during one of those times they registered. And so, well, I don't know what to do or how to vote, or and so we were able to go online, print out the generic ballot, which is when I first started voting and getting involved. That was so handy for me, because I could look at each race and not be intimidated. I felt like when I went to the poll, I knew what was going to be on the ballot, and so I would educate myself on each candidate. And then I showed them the websites of the two top parties, and the other two also. But it's a lot of reading, but look at the planks, look at the platform, and then vote your heart. Vote you know what you feel is right for you, and your beliefs. And so they were really excited because they didn't know the information was there. So sometimes it's like having those simple conversations with people. And I think we would be surprised at the amount of people that are either not registered or have never voted before. So I was able to assure them that it's a real painless process, and they can go, and it's all electronic. So I said, just read through this stuff and educate yourself. And
Carl, I'll make a point on that. 80,000 registered voters in Midland. And I remember just last year, 2 years ago, the election, and less than 10%.
well,
Less
yeah.
than 10% vote.
Yeah, and I worked the elections. I've worked for the last couple of years, and I enjoy it.
Yep.
I mean, I really enjoy working elections. Of course, uh, early voting has been extended to 3 weeks
Yep.
this this time instead of two, so I've got a long haul ahead of me. But I'm thankful that I'm at a place in life where I can, I can commit that time to that. But yeah, it's extremely important.
And to just quickly vote, America, voting is our way of change. It's the way we change things in this nation. We're in what we call one of three phases. I was talking yesterday. We're in what we call a representative democracy, or in a presidential republic, or in a constitutional republic. Those three things mean the same thing. And to be public means it's a people affair. It's a public affair. That's where the word public come from, out of the word Republican. It's a people affair. And the people govern and vote in the people who will represent them to legislate what they want to see in a local, state, or federal government.
Well put.
Yep.
Very well put.
So whenever I vote, and this is just kind of my pattern, I try to, first of all, you have to be an informed voter. You have to be.
Yes.
Because if you're not an informed voter, that's like somebody saying, okay, you've got cancer, and you go and without doing an MRI or anything, you've got cancer, and you're going to have to go get surgery for this right now. They open you up, and you don't have cancer. That's what it's like to vote uninformed. So first of all, I say, get off social media for a little bit, or get on to the areas that you get truth from. Truth, not certain social media places. Okay. Okay. You're not going to find truth at TikTok. You're not going to find truth. And so once you've educated yourself, you need to pray. You need to pray for God's guidance. You have to. I do this every day, and then every election, and then I want you to vote aggressively. I want you to vote with all of your heart. Every time you hit the button, yes, that's the thing I want. No, that's the thing I don't want. Yes, that's the one I want. And to be very aggressive with it. Because if you don't vote intelligently, you're taking the cancer out with no cancer being there. It's called a false positive. False positives in the medical field are the most dangerous things in the world. That means you don't have it, but they're going to do something about it. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got the cancer. You don't have cancer, but we're still going to operate on you. And then we also need to, I mean, it's what's strange to me is that we know more about the Dallas Cowboys in this area than we do about the presidential issues. We know more about the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't watch football anymore, but we know more about the Dallas Cowboys than we know what the issues are. We know more about the Dallas Cowboys than we know about our own government. We don't know that there's 435 representatives in the House. We don't know that there's 100 senators in the Senate, and the president of the Senate is the vice president. We don't know that, and yet we know who the defensive tackle on the right side of the Dallas Cowboys is.
Yeah. No, very good point.
Very good point.
I think we're learning wrong, not necessarily wrong things, but we're not spending our time being wise. We're spending our time being futile.
Yes. I think those are very good points.
Yeah.
We're gonna get ready to close out. I agree with Lucy. One of the reasons why I got involved was I was complaining a lot. I just saw a lot of things just not, and I thought this just can't be. What can I do? And however small I felt as I began to move forward and do things, I saw the huge impact that one person can have um, on any issue. And we'd also seen that years ago because we were going to DC every May to watch the Watchman on the Wall conferences where the legislators would come and would be on Capitol Hill and they would go over all these laws and things that were being introduced that would affect the church and Judeo-Christian beliefs. And we saw how I was just blown away. We've been doing this for 20 something years now, but I could just walk into the representative's office. You could have a one-on-one. You could have face-to-face with these people. And then the other thing that really impacted me is that the 5 people that show up in their office are the 5 people that are making their decisions for them a lot of times. It's not it's not the masses. They take the people that actually write a letter or go face to face or make that phone call. You are truly making a difference because the percentages, like you said, of those that are registered that actually vote is probably even greater than those that actually take the time to impact or talk to the representatives of those that are making decisions for our country. So get involved.
That's right.
And voting is just one small aspect of it, but take that step.
That's right.
And it's not small. I don't want to say small because that's not true at all. It is not small. But we are going to get ready to close out. We try to just keep this to under an hour. But I'm going to just ask each of our panelists to give us some closing remarks.
Well, sure. Well, again, thank you. This has been, I'm glad to be a part of something like this discussion. What I was thinking just now, based on just these few topics, is life's not any easier today. Life is harder today. Being in America and living in America is much harder today than it was just 5 and 10 years ago. And growing up, Midland, Texas, West Texas, watching tumbleweeds, go across the street and being able to play in your streets, ride your bike, feeling no fear, walking the streets. It's so much different today. And the issues that we're dealing with, it's hard. And I think there's a mission that I'm on right now, and maybe it's because I'm mature a little more and seen the world a little more, but it's it's how do we help our younger generation? I'm a mentor today, and I want to be a mentor to our youth to make them understand that life can be good. I think y'all brought up some great points, and we have so many opportunities, so many freedoms, and how do we help them be the best entrepreneur, the best educator, the best whatever they want to be in their field, but truly understand life and appreciate life, be happy, take care of their family, take care of their elders, etiquette, as I mentioned. There's just too many tools out there that give us that devil, that bad thing. And I think you said it so many times tonight. You just got to continue praying and believing in the Lord, and I think that we will all come together, but we can't do it independently. We have to unify. We have to work together, regardless of your background. We have to believe in each other and support each other so that our youth can have a better future. So, again, thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you for being here. Lucy,
Thank you.
closing.
Yes. So, I just want to invite everyone to really get out there and try to do their best. Um, I'm talking, for myself. I live the American dream. I'm still doing it. There's so many things, and I'm not even. I don't born in this country. I moved here when I was 19 years old, and I want my daughters so bad to live the American dream, and that's why every time that I get something new, and I know it's like, well, maybe I don't have time, but we make the time for the things that are important. And this is very important. This is what is happening right now is kind of scary. And I don't want this to go away. This is a great country. And I don't think that I can do everything that I'm doing here in any other country. So I invite everyone, like you need more information, you want to reach out to us. I think any of us we're available to talk to them, to, inform them about getting to vote and all that. I love what you say that you're mentoring young kids, and I think that's what we need to do. And I'm there too if they need me, because I really, I have good people around me when I move to this country, and I want to be that person for other people here that need it. So thank you very much for this.
Well, thank you for being here, Pastor Smith.
Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. That's it.
You don't agree with that, Doc. I know you don't.
Of
Go-
course I do. The Bible tells us, and I'm not a preacher by any means, but it tells us that ultimately we win. But it's who do we bring with us?
Yeah.
That's the effort. All five of us here, we could just say, forget about it. I know where I'm going. I don't need to worry about anybody else. I don't have to worry about that guy over there who's doing whatever. Instead of going over to him and saying, hey, man, you need to stop doing that. And then the second thing they say is, you're judging me. And guess what? I am judging you, because God says, judge the people who are really messing up, not what they're wearing, but when they're messing up. And it's important. And that people use that word judge as something, as a, you're racist, you're judging me, you're intolerant. No. I am tolerant. I am judging you if you're doing something crazy and stupid. I've been crazy and stupid. Okay.
So you know it when you see it, right?
I know what crazy and stupid looks like, and I'm still trying to work through it. I am a broken man, and I'm trying to rebuild. So, I really want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Invite me back as you want to, if you want to, and
Yes.
I'm here.
And as you guys see what we're doing now, and if you think of topics or questions, let's throw that out there. Then by all means, touch base with any one of us, or put it on the Facebook page, or you think of people that, you should go and talk on that stage, then please send them our way, and let's just have these conversations. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us again, whether live or whether you listen to this later. And, God bless America.
Bless
Good night.
America. Amen. Thank
Amen.
you.
Amen.
Thank y'all so much.